Moana 1 and 2. This is the 3D Blu-ray edition with lenticular cover. What's interesting is this is one of the later Blu-ray 3D discs that Disney released in the United States before they stopped that. After that it switched to UK and then just switched to mostly Marvel titles only in Japan. But yeah, this one was mass-produced in the US 2017, which was also about the time that 3D TVs in the United States ended production. And of course now projectors are the new 3D TVs. Their branding at the time was Ultimate Collector's Edition. That's what they would call the 3D version. That was the only difference it had, though. It's not like it had extra features or anything. And then this Ultimate Collector's Edition was switched to the 4K editions because, as we know, taking away one eye view of a upscaled 2K movie is better than 3D. And I'm being sarcastic, obviously. So anyway, here's a closer look at the case. And inside, it has, of course, the 2 discs. It also has a DVD, which I don't have. I separated that. And also a interesting alternative to the usual digital copy card. You get a smaller card, which is like a cute little poster that mentions the digital movie. It has the code on the back. So anyway, this was a pretty popular movie, very successful with audiences. It's a simple hero's journey story. And if you're watching this channel, your question obviously is, how is the 3D quality? And 3D is pretty good. It's not always powerful in your face, but it's not weak or just an afterthought either. There's lots of key quality 3D moments throughout the whole thing, like the cutout animations that set up the story at the beginning. But there's also a number of shots with sharp angles, confined spaces, particle layers that go from foreground to background, and other scenes with a wide range of depth. And yes, there are pop-outs. One of the best 3D scenes was with, what are they called? Kakamora? I think that's what they're called. These coconuts, these living coconuts that have arms and legs and wear little battle masks. Well, anyway, yeah, that scene is great in 3D. There's spears flying at you, lots of blink and you miss it shots. So you want to pay attention because there will be flying past your face in both directions. When she swings past the screen, ropes crossing from one way to the other. Yeah, that scene is great in 3D, but really the whole thing is definitely easily the preferred way to watch it. And besides shots that are just have strong layers of depth, there's also it just pairs well with the animation quality because while it's obviously cartoonish in nature, computer animation has gotten better, so there's a lot of photorealistic elements within the cartoonishness. That crystal clear water, the translucency that looks beautiful in 3D, sparkly elements, shiny elements, as one character would say. And towards the end too, that final action scene, lots of bright glowy colors, lots of contrast. It just fits 3D like a glove. And the disc also comes with the theatrical short that preceded it, a Disney animation that's about a human going through life, and it's kind of like Inside Out. Kind of reminds me of that because it's giving personalities to, instead of all in his brain, it's giving personalities to his internal organs, which sort of represent emotions, like the logical brain and the impetuous heart. And it goes beyond that too, like even his bladder having to go to the bathroom and his lungs. But yeah, that's a cute little short film, cute little story, and an interesting animation style too. Very outside of the box character designs. Some have blocky designs, some have very exaggerated features, and interestingly, it also has like a layer of film grain over top of the 3D animation, which gives it an interesting touch. So yeah, that's all on the Moana Blu-ray 3D edition, and as I'm filming this, Moana 2 is currently in theaters. Or maybe I should call it Moana 2 The Way of Water. I don't know, it just kind of reminded me of Avatar 2, just a little bit, the idea of traveling to meet other similar tribes, which was kind of the story in this one. You also definitely don't want to miss this one in 3D, as especially nowadays it probably won't be made available on Blu-ray 3D. But yeah, the 3D in Moana 2 is great as well. It has a lot of the similar things. The Kakamora, again, is a good 3D scene with the ropes angling towards the camera. I wouldn't say it's as strong in 3D as the first one. I don't think there were as many wow moments, unfortunately, but it's still preferable, of course. And there's another 3D moment towards the end I remembered, of the oar that was in the water, and you can see it through the water while it's floating and rippling, and that effect stuck with me because it was realistic but atypical. So that was a very cool shot. And also a side note, I remember it had been brought up before a while ago. I forget who said it or why it was brought up, but something about floating windows. And that's where black bars will be added to the side or sides of the frame in an effort to virtually extend the edge of the screen to obstruct, or rather cancel out window violations. And window violations are when something in negative parallax is obstructed by the edge of the screen, which can look like a contradiction depending on context. So anyway, these floating windows, this editing technique that you'll often see in 3D movies, especially from like Disney and Pixar animation, they use them frequently. Marvel movies, you'll notice them if you look for them. It had been said, someone thought they were added to the home edition, that this was something that was done for home but not in the theater. But I can confirm I did see floating windows being used in the theater. You also want to keep an eye out for previews. The first preview at my location was for Mufasa, which is the Lion King prequel, and that was a nice way to get you right into the 3D. They had the, the green title card or whatever you call it for the rating, and Timon and Pumbaa pop up in 3D in front of it. And they also did show a preview for Elio. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's the new Pixar movie about the boy and the aliens, but that one was shown in 2D for some reason afterwards. I have no idea why. But again, previews can vary by location, so some may have seen that in 3D. And as for the movie itself, technical 3D or not, how was the story itself? It was fine. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't amazing either, it was just acceptable. It's pretty obvious they made it only because the first Moana was a massive success, just like Frozen was very successful, so they greenlit Frozen 2. Like, think about the story later. Wasn't crazy about that one. This one I'd say it's a little better than Frozen 2. I'm not sure it had to exist, but it also didn't hurt the lore either and kind of opened it up for the future, so that wasn't a bad thing. It did have some meta, almost self-satirical humor, and I don't believe it had Lin-Manuel Miranda doing the music either, but they mimicked his style successfully, so I really didn't know that he wasn't doing it at first. Even down to the his trope of shoehorning in rap segments that all sound the same. And then they really did. They up and did it. They added a Marvel-style post-credits scene of the most generic thing, like, oh, it's not over, or something along that line. It was just, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I realize Disney is hemorrhaging money to a degree from some of their choices in recent years, and throwing away big budget movies on the streaming service for free and other bad ideas, but they got to make money from those movies, so that's mostly the reason for its existence. But if you like 3D, that's the main reason to go catch it now. If you don't, personally, I would just wait for 2D on Disney Plus. And I have to give a hats off. Well, I'm not wearing a hat, but if I was wearing one, I would take it off to O'Neill's Theaters in Epping. They're not a large premium format theater, but as usual, not only their seating layout, but their brightness and clarity is on point when it comes to most standard theaters. And I mentioned this in the past, thankfully they actually showed this one in 3D because it had been said previously that management didn't want to show animated movies in 3D there because they didn't think there was enough demand for it, for kids ones at least. So it was a pleasant surprise to see that they chose to show Moana 2 and even late showtimes, so that's much appreciated. The only thing that still remains is that their 3D showtimes don't show up as being 3D on Fandango. So if you're using Fandango or another app, you have to check on their specific website to see which ones will be 3D, and then go to that showtime, match it up, because you won't know otherwise. So yeah, that's about it for this one. I'll be making another episode, season finale for this year, with some 3D news and updates before we take a little break for next season, and that'll be coming up. See you next time.